You're listening to Murder Not Murdering with Aaron,
and Autumn,
a true crime podcast about murder and murdering.
but we are not murderers.
And we are back at Murder Not Murdering with Aaron and
Autumn.
whoop whoop. What's up, y'all?
I just gave some space for them to answer that question.
Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, really?
Because
That's
you
awesome.
asked them.
We are so excited to hear that you're having such a time,
An
person.
amazing time during the summer.
That's great, listener.
Our murderful friends, we're so thankful that you're having the best time ever.
I mean, honestly, we are thankful that they're spending time with us. So that's cool.
Absolutely.
I got really good feedback on our last episode.
I love to hear it because we got a weird bot message that I was telling Aaron about. It was disturbing. But then we found out it was a bot, so it made it
that they use
a little
AI,
less disturbing.
Yeah, it essentially we got a DM that said that someone wanted to wear our skin. So
literally, I'm like, oh, nice.
It's just they want to get your attention so that you'll click on something and give all your personal info away. Thank God we're not dummies.
Little do they know. Yes, little do they know. I am the queen of phishing emails. Delete. Don't click on anything.
Yep.
Even if it's legitimate, sometimes I will delete them. So
exactly.
Just fair warning. If you're trying to contact us, if you say something weird like that, you'll not get a response.
And you'll be blocked.
And you will be blocked. I blocked the bot before I even told Aaron. I was like, block.
Yeah, definitely used like a stock photo of said girl, and it was obvious. But anyways, no one's wearing our skin but ourselves.
The lucky Aaron and Autumn.
And good news, I did get some in-person feedback from folks that really enjoyed the last episode.
I love that.
Yeah. It's always nice to do something that is close to your heart, and that was really cool.
I really enjoyed hearing it as well because it wasn't something that I've seen on any of the normal crime shows that I watch.
Yeah.
It was, and the personal connection made it
wild.
Even more like real.
It did. And I feel like, not that I'm not thoughtful when I write, but I felt, I really took the time to try to be thoughtful as I was writing.
I like that.
Yeah.
We here like to focus on the victims more so than the killers.
Mm-hmm.
We don't feel that they need to be glorified in any way. What we like to do here is bring a voice to the victims.
And make sure they're remembered.
Remembered is the biggest part.
I also watched the Jodi Huisentrude documentary. Autumn did not. Thanks, Autumn.
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
But I did give her the lowdown on it. It's really great. If you do want to see it, it's like a 3-part thing. It's on Hulu. It definitely deep dives a lot more, and you hear a lot more about the investigation and things that they hadn't previously released. But at the same time, it ends up with the same conclusion, right? We don't know who it was. They essentially eliminated one person out of the suspect list, but there's still 3 suspects. So one of which had a polygraph in 2025. And they have not arrested him. So I assume he's being somewhat eliminated from the process, but I don't know exactly because they basically leave us with
gathering. Yeah, they could be gathering more evidence.
Yeah, they leave us with we're not any closer essentially, but it's still an active investigation.
Man.
So there's that. But the whole thing is still very bizarre. And they did excavate an area like a year ago looking for her. And they found bones, but they did not find her. So anywho, It's well worth watching if you do want a deep dive. It definitely is well worth watching, and it's a well done documentary. So I would
also
recommend
find it interesting when they're looking for someone and they find other remains. It just makes you think, wow, how many dead people are missing out there?
I mean, we literally have a podcast based on the fact that
This is
people
true.
keep finding bodies.
This is true, but it's like such a weird thing to think about.
It is. I mean, essentially, almost anywhere you're at, there's probably remains of dead things underneath our feet at all times.
And supposedly you pass killers all the time and you don't even know it.
Well, not supposedly, facts.
This is true, but I mean,
or
don't-
potential ones. Like you don't
Yeah.
know.
you
Sometimes
don't know.
one moment in someone's life could change that trajectory. So
This is true. Like if you bring me the wrong food at a restaurant, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
if you're smelly and you are in an
smelly,
elevator,
it could lead to me snapping.
yet you still say you're the nice one.
I do. It's facts.
Lies.
Facts.
Tim agrees with me.
Oh goodness. I don't.
Oh,
what?
we're
Okay,
bringing it
one
up on
person.
air. We're bringing
One
it up on air.
person. One person. Mhm.
So I'm gonna harass Tim. I think we're gonna try to make that happen. The nurse episode next week.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm coming
look forward
for
to
it.
that, folks.
Well, it'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting to just see what it's like, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've never had a
Mhm.
guest.
No,
I
we
feel
haven't.
like it's gonna be us talking and then Tim giggling.
Yes, I do have a feeling it will be a lot of that, but that's
Yeah.
okay because
I think it'll be fun.
I giggle all the time, so I'll have a giggle partner.
And if you all like it, DM us or comment on our Instagram or TikTok and let us know, because it might be kind of fun for us to do that again sometime if that's something that you guys liked. So let's find out.
You could be our next guest.
You could be. Unless you want to wear our skin, and then fuck
Yeah,
no.
then you cannot be our guest.
Well, I did a bunch of research for my case today, and it's probably my most favorite case I have ever done.
I'm excited to hear it because you've done quite a
Big
few.
news. Yeah. Well, okay. So I have a list that is like a mile long of other cases that are interesting to me. But, sometimes when you go through the list, I'm like, no, I'm not interested in that anymore. Or I like this one instead. So I just am constantly looking, and then I write down in my notes what the next possible case could be. And this one, I had a different one planned, and then I just came across it while I was researching another case. And I'm like, no, I'm switching. I'm doing this one now. And you're going to see why I like it so much, but I had a blast writing this one.
Uh-oh. She had a blast
No.
writing about murder, guys. Maybe Aaron's the next serial killer.
Well, you're going to see why, though. At the end, you'll be like, I get it.
Bring it
All
on.
right.
I'm ready.
You ready? Okay.
Mhm.
This is the case of Ruth Cruger and the woman who solved her murder. See? You're already into it. I can tell.
I'm into it because of the
Mhm.
last name.
Oh, well, I thought you'd be into it because a woman solved the murder.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Wow. Okay. It's Friday, February 13th, 1917. The Cruger household on Claremont Avenue in Manhattan is preparing for a cold Valentine's Day weekend. But Ruth, young, bright, and restless, has plans. She tells her sister Helen that she's going to get her ice skates sharpened. There's a motorcycle repair shop just a few blocks away. Owned by Alfredo Cocchi, an Italian-born mechanic known in the neighborhood for being polite and unremarkable. That afternoon, Ruth slips on her hat, pulls up her coat collar, and walks out the door. But she never returns. By nightfall, the Cruger family is frantic. Ruth has never stayed out past dark without calling. Her father, Henry Cruger, contacts the police. He is told not to worry. An NYPD officer said, and I quote, "Sir, girls of her age often wander. If she's not back in a few days, we'll take a report." The NYPD files her disappearance and does absolutely nothing. The family begins their own search. They retrace Ruth's steps. They question neighbors. They go to the motorcycle shop. But Alfredo Coqui, he insists Ruth never came in at all. He says, "I never saw that girl. She must have gone somewhere else." Except Alfredo Coqui is lying. And someone did see Ruth go in, but they never saw her leave. Enter Mary Grace Humiston. She is not a detective. She's a lawyer, and probably one of the most fascinating women I have ever researched. She already made headlines for solving crimes that the police gave up on. In 1905, she founded the People's Law Firm, primarily focused on cases involving immigrants and the working poor. Within 2 years, she opened a pair of offices. Her reputation was growing. One case in particular, the defense of Miss Antoinette Tola, an Italian woman in New Jersey, drew media attention. Tola had been convicted of the murder of Joseph Santa and was scheduled to be hanged when Mary Grace took her case at the request of the Italian consul general, who offered her a substantial fee. Instead, she worked pro bono, as she did for many of her cases. By the time she had taken the case, her firm had 550 pending cases and employed 4 attorneys and 2 stenographers. She and her team worked quickly. 7 days after officially taking the case, Mary Grace had convinced the Board of Pardons of New Jersey to change Tola's death sentence to a prison term of 7.5 years. She successfully argued that Tola had killed Santa in self-defense and that her previous testimony had not been properly translated. That was on March 9th. Tola was scheduled to be hanged March 12th. So just in the nick of time. She strove to assist anyone who needed her expertise, stating in an interview, "We give the same attention to all our clients, but we charge each according to his means. If our clients are rich, we will charge them regular level rates. Of course, that's why we can ask low fees from the poor." People came to her when the police could not or would not help. During the first years of the law firm, several clients were searching for friends or relatives who had gone south for work opportunities and vanished. Rather than hiring an investigator, she looked into it herself. Remember, this is a lady in the early 1900s.
Yeah, that's impressive.
It's wild. Initial inquiries uncovered a network of New York City recruitment agents who lured laborers to the South, where they were ensnared in peonage. Peonage is essentially slavery. A number of New York City men had responded to advertisements promising jobs in Florida. The pay was $1.25 per day, which would be about $35 in today's money. And the ads said that the men would receive transportation to Florida. They hoped to send money back to their families, but neither the money nor word from the men ever arrived. Finally, one man returned, Joseph Walensky, who was now a man whose body had been broken and bore whip scars across his back. The employers claimed that the workers owed them money for food, lodging, and other expenses. Day by day, the men's wages were never enough to wipe out the debt they owed. As the men continued to work, their so-called debts grew, creating a vicious cycle. The men were forced to keep working, which kept them in debt. Mary Grace traveled to Florida on behalf of these men. She began investigating peonage and discovered it was being used all over the South. Remember, it wasn't that long ago that they lost the people that they enslaved. Immigrants and people of color were those most likely to be caught in the system. Her documentation and reports caught the eye of the United States government, and in the months that followed, the Department of Justice appointed her as Special Assistant United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York. She was the first woman to have this job, and just to put it in context, it was still 13 years before women had even gained the right to vote. Her responsibilities centered around identifying and prosecuting peonage schemes and industry trust busting. Her first trip yielded 46 affidavits against perpetrators of the peonage system. Although it was rampant in turpentine camps, Mary Grace discovered it was fairly common practice in a variety of industries. Traveling alone, she began a covert investigation, donning disguises and stowing away on supply wagons to infiltrate the camps.
Oh my gosh, what a badass.
Oh yeah, this is why I was like, I'm obsessed with this. The peonage probes took her abroad. She journeyed through Europe and part of the Middle East, pursuing leads and building her case. This led to unearthing an extensive exploitation ring that ran through different countries. It enticed individuals to immigrate to the United States, where they were essentially trapped. The Italian ambassador of the United States asked her specifically to look up the treatment of Italians working on the cotton plantations in Mississippi. That's when she targeted the Sunnyside plantation in Arkansas. Of course, a horrific place would be called Sunnyside.
Mm-hmm.
It was owned by the O.B. Crittenden Company. She dispatched an undercover investigator to sneak onto the plantation at night, and then Mary Grace herself spent time in the shacks that housed the immigrants, drinking the polluted water and gathering evidence. With proper motivation and the threat of prison, one of the labor agents divulged the company's labor practices and implicated a man named Leroy Percy, a cotton planter, lawyer, and political leader. Percy's great vision was to replace Black workers with Italians, and he considered himself untouchable. So when the heat was put on him, Percy appealed to his good friend and hunting buddy, President Theodore Roosevelt.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Though Roosevelt leaned towards fair labor, this was helping out a friend, a bro, as some might say. Fairly soon after, Mary Grace was removed from the investigation at Sunnyside.
Of course she was.
But the press had already gotten the story, and the report was published. The Italian government started to warn its citizens against moving to the Delta region. Some accused that this negatively impacted immigration to the South. Percy and other plantation owners worked hard to smear Mary Grace's reputation, often on the basis of her gender. Fucking assholes.
Of course, because they thought women were less than.
I mean, again, we still didn't even have the right to vote at this time. But that's not all this incredible woman did. With the firm, she also successfully sued an insurance company on behalf of a group of widows who were owed benefits. Unafraid to call out the corruption even within her own profession, she successfully got an immigration lawyer disbarred for overcharging persons fighting deportation orders. According to the law, lawyers could charge no more than $10 for filing an appeal to send to Washington, D.C. Cesar Barra was charging more than 4 times that amount. When Mary Grace took the case, Barra dared her to, quote, crack the whip. So she did just that. She recouped all the extra money he had taken and successfully made sure his license was revoked. So good on her. In a 1915 article from the New York Sun, they called her a quiet lady with a steel spine. When the Crugers read about the work that she had done, they wrote her in desperation. She agreed to take Ruth's case. This is an excerpt from the letter Mary Grace wrote to Mrs. Cruger, March 1917. Your daughter's fate may yet be uncovered, but we must expect that the answers will not come from the police. So she begins her investigation by going back up to the shop where Ruth was supposed to have gone. Alfredo Coqui, denies seeing Ruth. But something about his manner, too calm, too helpful, sets her on edge. She checks public records, police logs, and she finds something troubling. Cokie had once been accused of assaulting a 14-year-old girl, though no charges were filed. She speaks with the Cruger family. Ruth, it turns out, had a habit of writing everything down in a diary. That diary turned up missing. Suspicious.
Very
Meanwhile, Cokie does something even more suspicious. He boards a ship back to Italy. A newspaper headline reads, "Cokie flees. Police shrug."
They seem so uninterested.
They are. By May, 3 months after Ruth had vanished, the case had gone cold. Police Commissioner Arthur Woods insists there's no evidence of foul play. The public loses interest. The police even insinuate that Ruth was a wayward girl who is out there attracting men and saying that she's probably a sex worker now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She went to go sharpen her ice skates and now she's a sex worker.
Exactly. Mary Grace was not having any of it. She said New York does not yet realize how systemized is the danger for girls who live in it. The public readily says when a girl disappears, it was as much her fault as the man's. I know better. And do you think Mary Grace gave up? Oh,
No.
hell no.
No, I do not.
She interviews Cokie's former apprentice. He recalls an unusual renovation in the basement around the time of Ruth's disappearance. He says Cokie was acting odd and working in the basement, breaking up the concrete floor. Mary Grace, along with private detective Philip O'Hanlon, goes back to the shop. And this time, she brings an architect. They tap the floor. A patch sounds hollow. The police tell her it's nonsense and that she's interfering. So she goes higher up. She appeals directly to the district attorney, bringing blueprints, witness statements, and a written affidavit from the former apprentice. She says to DA Edward Swan, "If you will not examine the cellar, I will excavate it myself. And if a body is found, I will send it back to you in pieces." I fucking love her.
She's a badass.
Oh my God, I'm so obsessed with her. So under this pressure, the DA relents. She obtains a warrant to examine Cokie's shop. The cellar is opened June 16th, 1917. She brought along a police matron and a female stenographer. Because Mary Grace knew one thing: a man might have missed something that a woman would not. They went down the staircase. She found a coal bin, a broiler, and then something strange: a section of flooring crudely covered with scrap wood. It was not the kind of construction a tradesman would allow in a clean shop, Mary noted. With a crowbar and a constable, the boards came up, and under the dirt, coal dust, and broken concrete, were the remains of Ruth Cruger, nearly 4 months after she had went missing. Embedded in the dirt, they found a pair of dark trousers with pinstripes and stains. And beneath that, a dark sheet of rubber, carefully arranged to prevent odor from rising to the surface. She had been murdered, bludgeoned, and buried in a shallow grave, just feet below where the police had smoked cigars and taken Cokie at his word. Her white gloves, once pristine, were found nearby. Her school books had been burned in the broiler. Her ice skates were found with her body. At trial, prosecutors quoted the autopsy saying that there was a deep gash in Ruth's abdomen carved with the blade of her own skate.
Wow, that is really twisted.
No, it's worse. After the blow that crushed her skull. That means he mutilated her body after she died. Headlines read, "Ruth Cruger found dead. Woman solves mystery." Another said, "What the police failed to find. A woman uncovered in a half an hour. Is this incompetence or conspiracy?" Then, The girl's body lay beneath the mechanic's shop for 3 months. Were the police blind or bought? And Koki is now a fugitive in Italy. Remember, he left on a steamer ship with the help of friends in the Italian community and, some suspect, the permission of the NYPD brass. Mary Grace is not finished. She gives a press conference the very next day. The NYPD told this girl's parents she ran away. They could have found her weeks ago. They simply did not care to look. The case ignites public fury. Civic groups demand an inquiry. Mary Grace Humiston, once dismissed as a meddling lady lawyer, is suddenly on the cover of every paper in America. The press dubs her Mrs. Sherlock Holmes. Now, she is on a boat to Italy and tracks down.
Of course she is.
And she tracks down Koki herself. It was now on Italian soil and under the eye of the Italian police that Alfredo Koki finally confessed. The girl insulted me. I became very angry. I hit her with a hammer. Then I got scared and put her beneath the floor. It was not a confession born of remorse, but of pressure, shame, and the skill of a woman who had cornered him with nothing but logic and tenacity. He also said, I had never seen Ruth Cruger before she came to my shop to have her skates sharpened. From the very beginning, Ruth did all in her power to attract my attention. I felt something strange when her dark, penetrating eyes fixed on mine. I was more disconcerted when she came in to get her skates, as an overwhelming attraction for the woman seized me. What happened afterward seems like a dream. He killed her when she resisted his advances, and his wife, still in the United States, hoped he would come back to be punished.
Oh, well, at least she wanted him punished. For a second, I thought you were going to be like, and she wanted him back because she loved him.
No, she was like, fuck that guy.
Good.
Alfredo Koki, under international law, could not be extradited. He was tried for Ruth Cruger's murder in Bologna and was sentenced to 27 years in prison. But back home, Mary's work was not over. The Cruger family demanded to know why the NYPD had ignored every red flag, why they insisted Ruth had eloped or run away, why they hadn't even removed the floorboards in a building that literally reeked of furnace ash. Mary compiled a full report, hundreds of pages. She named names. In a letter from Mary Grace to the New York City Commissioner, Arthur Woods, she says, "You have men on the force who would rather protect a killer than admit a mistake. That is not law enforcement. That is cowardice." The fallout was swift and political. A subsequent investigation by Police Commissioner Woods revealed a long-standing, mutually beneficial relationship between Koki and the department. If an officer arrested someone for speeding, he would send the offender to Koki and suggested the repairman was able to compromise the cases for a small fee. Koki would collect the fee and keep a portion for himself and then kick back the rest to the officer. The corruption was exposed, and they most likely aided in the fleeing of the country for Alfredo Koki.
Yeah, absolutely. You scratch mine, I'll scratch yours.
Because of the case and the resulting public criticism, Mary Grace Humiston was named a special investigator to the New York City Police Department, charged with tracing missing girls in July 1917. Of the men named in the investigation, 2 high-ranking officers resigned, a third was demoted, but in the end, the department survived. Mary Grace Humiston's reputation did not. Not publicly, at least. She returned to her law practice, but going up against powerful men took a toll with the press, and they turned cold. Once hailed as Mrs. Sherlock Holmes, she soon was dismissed as a meddling woman or society lawyer with a flair for dramatics. When World War I was raging, the United States government had training camps around the country preparing soldiers. She publicly accused one of those camps of fostering wide-scale prostitution, but she didn't have the evidence. The unproved accusation cost her her credibility that she had built her whole career. Mary Grace went underground. She began working more in secret. Piecing her life together after 1917 is challenging, but this is what I found. She set up a women's club. She kept it private, so even today, we don't know its exact purpose. Speculation includes that it was a home for working women or unwed mothers, but it could have been anything. She seemed to plan to devote the rest of her life to saving young women. The so-called Grace Club survived for a decade, but despite repeated financing from Mary Grace and her sister, sadly, it collapsed during the Great Depression. In her later years, she worked to liberate people who were involuntarily committed for mental health issues in New York. History, for the most part, forgot her. But I could not let that happen. Although she had faded into obscurity, she hadn't quit fighting for others. She died in 1948 at the age of 78 and is buried in the Woodlawn Cemetery in New York. Mary Grace Humiston said in an interview, "If I had not gone looking for Ruth, she would have been called a runaway still, and Cokie would be sharpening skates for other girls." And in her own letters, she wrote, "I spent 15 hours a day on that case, interviewing Harlem residents too frightened to speak. Something told me to keep digging, and I couldn't stop." The Cruger case was closed. Justice, hard-fought, ugly, and too late, had come, but at a cost. A young girl was buried 4 months beneath the feet of the men who were supposed to protect her. And a woman, brilliant, relentless, and unafraid, had to do their job for them. Because sometimes justice doesn't wear a badge. It wears a hat pin, carries a notebook, and doesn't take no for an answer. This is the story of the murder of Ruth Cruger and the relentless woman who wouldn't let her be just another runaway. A woman who wasn't a police officer. She was a person like you or I. A citizen who was not okay with letting things go and held people accountable for their actions and told their stories. She helped codify new investigative roles for private citizens, paved the way for future female investigators, and reshaped public expectations of justice. Remember, keep your eyes open. We keep telling these cases that we can't forget, and for every mystery, there's someone who knows the truth. Perhaps that someone is listening to this podcast right now.
Perhaps it's you.
I knew you were going to do
It
that.
was going to be, so that's Robert Stack.
It's going to be me. Okay. My sources were the Smithsonian Magazine, the New York Times, the New York Tribune, the Harvard Archives of Mary Grace Humiston's letter and NYPD correspondence, court transcripts, and the New York State Historical Newspaper Archives.
She was a badass. That makes me really sad that
love
the
her.
end of her life was like that, though.
Yeah, but she didn't stop, right? She still kept trying to help people. Like, even towards the very end of her life, she was still trying to help people that were involuntarily committed to mental hospitals. I mean, she just never stopped, even though the press fucking tried to destroy her and discredit her, all of the things, she still kept helping. And I love that she had the Grace Club too, something to help women. I love that she just kept going and that she was traveling the world, fighting for immigration, fighting for these people who needed help. I'm obsessed. I love her so much. And I was just loving the research portion of all of this. And I was so excited to share this story because I feel like she's a person in history that people don't know about and they need to. So that was my case.
I had questions because he was a mechanic. Why was he sharpening people's skates?
Because he had the equipment. So you could bring it there and he would have like a lathe or something to sharpen your skates.
Man,
Yeah.
what a snot little piece of shit.
I know, right?
I
hate
and a little fucking chicken.
I know, and I hate when he was like, I was so attracted to her, and her dark eyes, and the girl walked in to get her skates sharpened, bro. She was not here for you. She was not trying to flirt with you. You were
sorry she turned you down. Like, get over it.
She was 18 and he was 38, and she was like,
not everyone wants you, bro. Get over it.
She just wanted to sharpen her skates to go roller skating, to go ice skating. What the fuck? Like,
yeah, what
a gross person.
Horrible human.
Not to mention, he smacked her in the head with a hammer, which killed her. And then he cut her abdomen open with her ice skate. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, he is a piece of shit.
Yeah. Okay, I'm ready when you are.
Forgot to tell you, this woman was raped.
Okay.
Sorry. I don't talk about that part, but
yeah,
she was. So
again, Autumn usually lets me know ahead of time.
This is
because
true.
it is a trigger for me, as I've been a victim of sexual assault. So
I don't talk about it. I just mention it. So
sure.
Just a heads up. On that note, my case is The Mailbox, The Map, and The Monster.
Ooh, good title.
I was pretty proud of myself for that title, everyone. So
yeah,
kudos to me. Anyway.
Kudos to you.
Kudos to me. Today, I'm going to tell you about a case that starts with something as ordinary as a woman getting her mail. It's the kind of moment we don't usually think twice about. Something you've probably done 100 times without even remembering. But in April of 1989, that everyday task marked the beginning of a mystery in rural Virginia. A woman vanishes, a strange map is found in the grass, and eventually, police discover something deeply disturbing. What looks like a blueprint for murder. This is the story of Ethel Kidd.
Ooh, that's a good name.
Mm-hmm. In the spring of 1989, Ethel Kidd was living out what was supposed to be her golden years. She was 61, retired, happy, building a life with her husband Gilbert in Burr Hill, Virginia, a quiet, rural community about 70 miles from Washington, D.C. They'd bought a piece of land the year before and were building their dream home, a place close to their children and grandchildren, because for Ethel, family was everything. That was the reason for the move, the reason for the house. It was all for them. She was warm, kind, a little proper. She wasn't someone who made waves. Ethel Kidd kept her house tidy, her calendar full, and her doors locked. Always. Which, here, we agree with. Always lock your doors, people. I don't care what town you live in. Always
I don't
lock
either.
your doors.
Yeah, keep your doors locked. You just never know. And honestly, I feel like in a more rural area, it makes me want to lock them too.
Well, especially in 1989, that wasn't very popular, especially in a rural area.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
She was kind of ahead of her times in that, if you will.
Totally.
On April 12th, 1989, she spent the morning doing exactly what she loved, visiting her daughter, who lived just a mile down the road. Around 2 p.m., Ethel pulled back into her driveway. She grabbed her mail from the inbox, just like always, and went inside. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. The next morning, April 13th, her daughter tried calling, expecting her to come over for coffee like they usually did. But Ethel didn't pick up. It went to the answering machine. That wasn't like her. By 9:30 a.m., her son-in-law, Thomas, drove past the house. Ethel's car was there, just sitting in the driveway. The door was unlocked. Now, this is a woman who never left her doors open. But when Thomas stepped inside, everything looked normal. No signs of a struggle, no missing valuables, nothing obviously out of place. Except one strange thing, a road atlas left out in the front yard. He picked it up, and that's when things got weird.
And just for our listeners, a road atlas is something you used before GPS.
I didn't even think about that. Oh my gosh.
Back when we used to use the Oregon Trail to get back and forth.
And a compass.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Inside the atlas was a piece of motel stationery covered in disturbing, sexually explicit writing. Police later determined it had been used to lure people, probably motorists on the highway, into sex acts.
What?
And with it was a handwritten list, not a grocery list, not directions. This was a plan for murder.
Oh my God.
Investigators quickly realized this wasn't some prank or accident. The list had been written by someone methodical, patient, cold, disturbed. It included instructions, step by step, on how to carry out a murder and disappear. One item mentioned clothing and accessories, likely meant to be a disguise. Another referenced a book called The Paper Trip, a guide on how to create a fake identity. Then there were the abbreviations. HC, the police guessed maybe meant handcuffs, TP, possibly tape, and SG, which detectives believed could mean surgical gloves or even stun gun.
Okay.
And Ethel, she was gone. Police organized massive search efforts, dogs, helicopters, volunteers, combing the fields and woods around her home. For 8 days, there was nothing. Then a hunter went into the woods just 3 miles away. He was walking a path near a logging road, a place police had already searched. But something had changed. There, tied to a tree, was Ethel Kidd.
No, I hate that.
The tying to the tree part is what literally stopped me in my tracks when I was researching this. I'm like, that is
That's
another
sadistic.
level.
Yeah, that's gross. I hate that.
I absolutely hate that.
I mean, you can tell by the list that this person was sadistic and that, God.
Yes.
Okay.
She'd been sexually assaulted, strangled, left posed, her face turned toward the road as if someone wanted her to be seen. It was gruesome, and even more chilling was what her body told investigators. She hadn't died right away. She had likely been killed shortly after being taken. But her body hadn't been out in the elements all that time. The condition of her remains strongly suggested refrigeration. She'd been cold, unnaturally so. Investigators speculated that her body had been stored in something like a walk-in freezer or possibly a refrigerated truck. There were other clues too. The bindings on her body weren't ordinary rope. They were made of a material used in hotel and hospital curtains, something not sold in just a hardware store. That detail changed the direction of the investigation. Who has access to equipment like that? A butcher? A restaurant worker? A delivery driver? A long-haul trucker? Car seat fibers were found on her clothing, suggesting she'd been transported. And there was that list again, left behind, folded neatly inside the atlas, as if the killer wanted someone to find it, as if it was part of the performance. Based on what they had, investigators put together a profile. They believed the killer was a white man, likely in his 30s or 40s, someone who lived alone, some transient maybe a trucker or a traveling salesman. He probably stayed in motels a lot, didn't form many relationships. He planned this, every detail. But for years, they had no name. No one recognized the handwriting. No one saw the truck. No one came forward. That is, until the case aired on television.
Don't you say it.
I'm about to say it. The story of Ethel Kidd was featured on a national TV show, Unsolved Mysteries, a hugely popular show at that time. And here in my household, it's played every day and is still hugely popular. Cannot lie. At the time of the broadcast, it was the kind of show people watched religiously, especially in small towns. The episode had aired a few times, and that paid off because someone watching recognized something. And after the broadcast, that someone made a call. They gave the name Edward Wayne Beverly. Beverly had lived in Burr Hill. He left town right after Ethel was murdered, and he was now sitting in prison in Tennessee for an unrelated offense. At first, his name hadn't been mentioned in the show, but in a later update hosted by Keely Shea Smith, they connected the dots. The handwriting on the list, it matched his. The tipster recognized the handwriting.
Whoa.
Can you even imagine how you had to know that person so well to recognize their handwriting?
For real.
That is what took me to another level. I'm like, they didn't recognize the clues. They recognized this man's handwriting.
Well, and thank God they were paying close attention because they could have gone into the kitchen to get a glass of water at that time.
1,000%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or just, yeah, exactly. Like they could have not paid any attention. But to recognize the handwriting is just mind blowing to me.
See, I feel like if I saw, I'd be like, oh, that looks like the way that so-and-so writes. I don't think I would be like, it's them, you know?
I mean,
unless
you could call in an anonymous tip and they could check that person out and you would never have to be known that you called them in.
I just feel like I'd be like, oh, that looks like Autumn's handwriting. Weird. And I would have just probably gone on. But if she or he, whoever the person is, if they suspected that person of foul play, then I could see how they could be like, yeah, that guy was always a weirdo. I think that it's his handwriting, you know?
Well, in this situation, I don't think that was the case.
Whoa.
Which is even crazier.
It's even crazier.
So the police took his fingerprints, ran DNA tests, compared fibers and samples, and everything matched. Edward Wayne Beverly remains something of a mystery himself. He wasn't famous. He didn't have a long criminal record. And yet, the level of detail in his murder plan suggested this wasn't his first time thinking about killing someone. Possibly not his first attempt either. He didn't leave behind a manifesto. He never explained why he targeted Ethel. Maybe it was random. Maybe he was driving through and saw her at her mailbox alone. We don't know. What we do know is Edward Wayne Beverly was arrested just months before he was set to be released from prison. He was charged with the abduction, rape, and murder of Ethel Kidd. He was convicted and sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms. He died in prison in 2008. There was no grand confession, no answers to the big questions, like why her? Why that day? It's possible she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. A random target for a man who had been planning and waiting. No one knows how many other crimes he may have committed. I mean, this guy was scheduled to be released from prison. And he, like, the timing of it is just incredible that they kept him in jail. Because based on everything that he had written in this blueprint for murder, I don't think this was going to be his first time.
Oh, I don't know that it was.
Mm-hmm. It's just,
you know what I mean? There could be other bodies.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Ethel Kidd was loved. She was careful, kind, and deeply rooted in her family. She spent her last day doing something she enjoyed, visiting her daughter, and she was taken from that life in a way that no one deserves. Her husband Gilbert passed away in 2006. Her children and son-in-law have also passed.
Oh my God.
But for those who remember her, she is more than a case file. She's a mother, a wife, a grandmother, and she deserved to grow old in peace. This case is solved. You're welcome, Erin.
Thank you.
It still haunts because it forces us to ask, how many people are walking around with thoughts like this? How many lists have been made that were never found? How many monsters have we passed on the road? My sources were Medium, Unsolved Mysteries, The Freelance Star, The Daily Progress, The Paper Trip by Barry Reed, Virginia State Police, and Public Case Records.
Dang.
It's just,
if he was
I had to tell this story because honestly, I feel like she wasn't his first and only victim.
I don't think so either.
Maybe if we bring more attention to what happened to her, other cases can be solved because of it.
Yeah.
Even though he's not alive anymore, but he was a very sadistic human.
Well, and you think about it too, like the way that he methodically planned it all out and had everything written down. You know, there could be other cases where a very similar MO or similar materials used.
Yes. Or handwriting left behind that could match his that no one thought about. Like,
and the fact
there's
that
just so many questions.
He spent so much time writing it all down. And all of that makes you think he's been thinking about this for a long time. I'm sure that wasn't his first draft. You know what I mean? Whether he killed or not outside of that is, you know, we don't know that. But based upon the way that he did everything so methodically, it makes you think he for sure, at least, you know, horribly, but harmed animals or done things to test his abilities before he did it. You know what I mean?
Especially, I mean, the way he murdered her, it's just everything. It's just so incredibly like dark.
Yeah. But now they have his DNA in the system, so that's good. But I mean, this is the weird way her body was left and everything. I could see how that would be.
And that she was kept in a refrigeration for a bit. Like, come on.
I hate that.
He had thought about this for a very long time. And then he wanted to change his identity. And then he left right away after the murders. Just, I mean,
Thank God
Man.
he, like as sadistic and gross as it is, thank God he wrote everything down, because had that handwriting not popped up, how would we have ever caught
I don't think we
this?
would have ever caught him.
Nope. Nope. And he would have been free to do whatever the fuck.
Because he was getting out.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know if you noticed, but your case took place on April 13th and mine was February 13th.
No, I didn't, but that's crazy.
Wouldn't it be crazy if they were on Fridays? Ooh.
That would be crazy if they were on Fridays, Friday
Right?
the 13th.
Wild, though. I think we both had very interesting cases this week.
I do too.
I was so excited to tell the story of this like heroine that went out there and solved all of these crimes and held people accountable, and and to tell the story of Ruth and how the media had portrayed her and that everything was fought to change that. I was really excited to tell that story, and I think your case was very interesting as well.
Man, people
that
are
one would
crazy.
stick out in my head too.
Yeah, the fact that she was tied to a tree has always stuck with me. That's just so disturbing.
And that someone just happened to be watching at that exact moment.
Right? Because the case had aired a few times. It wasn't the first time it aired.
I thought you would enjoy that I added that little bit at the end to quote Robert Stack.
I did. And then here I come with the story.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, it's almost expected at this point.
I generally think that your case will be tied to unsolved mysteries at some point.
Except for this one had a solved mystery.
Thank God.
I mean, he never gave us motive, but
no.
It's even when people are caught, people think that, oh, we'll find out everything, but that's not necessarily true. Sometimes they don't ever speak.
Yeah. Kind of like we were talking about the Idaho murders the other day. You just don't get, yes, it's solved, but you don't get the resolution. I feel like you want it explained to you because it's an unimaginable thing,
Right. Exactly. And some people, honestly, I think don't have a reason for why they do what they do.
I think they're caught a lot of times. I mean, we've seen over the years that people get caught up in a moment of passion, whatever type of passion that is, whether it's rage or, fixations. It's not necessarily always so planned out or, I mean, not necessarily in your case, but, it's not always so planned out.
Yeah, he had a blueprint for murder. So he was definitely planning it, but we don't know why.
Exactly.
And why her.
And why her?
She had no connections to him that they could find.
To me, that sounds like convenience.
I agree. I feel like he maybe traveled down that road quite often and maybe saw her on occasion getting her mail.
He may have
or returning from her daughter's houses. And he could have just been like, maybe he didn't even fixate on her. Maybe he just saw her often enough to be like, well, she's 61. She probably would be an easy target.
Predictable on like when she would be there.
Yes, he saw her often enough to know that she would get her mail, and so she would be unable to lock her door fast enough if he was
maybe it was just a moment of convenience. It sounds like to me that if he would have pulled over and asked for direction, she probably would have helped. You know what I mean?
That is a good point. Yeah.
So it could very well have been that he like pulled over outside of her house and he's like, "Excuse me." I mean, we don't know the facts, but I mean, it sounds like from all accounts, she would have been the type of person that would have helped.
To be helpful, for sure.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Well, those were our cases today, folks. I hope that you enjoyed them. Please, well, not enjoyed them, but found them interesting.
Yes, that's a better way to say that. We don't enjoy murder cases.
No. For me, I love learning about the human behavior of it all, and I love the forensics side.
Yes, the forensics side is very interesting to me.
So we hope that you found our cases interesting today. And if you do have a case or you want to share a tidbit or let us know what you thought of it, please slide into our DMs. We are at Murder Not Murdering on Instagram. If you would like to find us on TikTok, where we post videos of our cases and information, follow us at mnm.pod on TikTok.
On TikTok.
And we will see you next week. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.